Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for a very exciting start of this project, which is Dungeon Crawler Carl in form of Lego. So about a month or so ago, I think it was around Christmas time, I did a video announcing the Dungeon Crawler Carl project was going to be my biggest mock ever. Broke out the actual shirt today, so I'm super excited. This project is going to take me an extremely long time to finish. Quite literally, if it costs anything like the first floor did, God only help me. It was rough. It was expensive. It's very expensive to do custom builds right now, and I mean, Lego's just really expensive, and I'm super excited. I have a desk full of goodies to kind of show you guys, but it's going to obviously be a couple different ways. So near me, this episode is going to be part 1/part 2, given the intro, but obviously framing it and building like the actual frame design is going to be important. I got a couple of red oak pieces. I'm gonna do a couple different things with them. I believe they're like 2x4s for the most part, 2 by like ½ inch, I think I did thickness wise, for at least the backboard for it. And the way I want to do this is kind of like a picture frame. However, it's going to take me so long to fill it, given the 1,000 plus probably per floor this is going to cost me to do. So I want to do a board like this. It's upside down, but you guys can get the gist. Board like this as the base. Glue half base plates to this, or cut base plates. I got a couple X-Acto decorative knives. Craft knives, not decorative. Craft knives, and I'm going to glue them to this, and then put that old other board in the back as the backboard. Eventually, it can be one big cohesive unit stacked. However, again, since this is going to take me a long time, it's going to be built floor by floor, at least for now. Once it gets a little bit bigger, it makes it a little bit nicer, but for now, I'd be building an entire frame, and I wouldn't be filling it for a very long time. I don't entirely know where on earth this is going to go. I have a couple ideas. There's a wall over here with my DC stuff and my like swords and stuff like that. I have a feeling that's going to be biting the bullet here soon. I do have to obviously put, before this project starts, Dungeon Crawler Carl, I kind of explained it before, but basically one day the Syndicate, the alien universe outside of Earth, basically takes over Earth, and by doing so, they kill every person that's inside of anything. If you're in your car, under a roof, in your house, business, whatever, you're gone. Everybody else was basically given the opportunity to enter something known as the dungeon, in which you basically compete for your life against other people, creatures from all over the place, quite literally heaven or hell. There's a bunch of deities in this stuff. It is an extremely violent book. It is a lot of swearing, a lot of blood, a lot of everything. All right. So when I'm building this stuff, not everything's going to be entirely kid-friendly. I will censor out certain things just because there's a character specifically in the 7th book that I cannot put on here if I want any monetization. So yeah, but there will be offensive characters. Now, book 1, yeah, there's some, yeah. It's probably the least aggressive of all of them. But as I go, there is going to be specifically, there's a figure in book 6 known as Uzi Jesus. I'll just leave that there. I'll have to build that eventually, but hey. It is what it is. But so just be warned, this is a Lego video. This is a fun channel. I love doing all this stuff. Just like not every video game that I play is child friendly. Same thing with this project. So I will try and put a little bit of a warning on certain pieces for this portion. There's not going to be anything too bad. Quite literally, it's just going to be some goblins. So basically, the route that I went with this, the first floor is very Dungeons and Dragons medieval vibes. So I have a giant mixed bag next to me of all of these goodies. These are 1x2 masonry bricks, which are perfect for castle building. I'm going to use those as the backdrop, and I have a couple different color base plates. I wanted to do brown. Brown doesn't really exist in Lego base plates, and I don't know if I want to actually tile everything off with like 4x6s, so we'll see. 4x6 Legos, not boards, obviously. Got some goodies in here. Now, the door to the Guild Hall, the very first one that they meet, is going to be outlined in red. That's why I have little red masonry bricks. So I really want to debate how I want to do it. For now, I kind of think for part 1, this is the wrong board, but it's the same. Level out this portion, and that'll be the front hallway, which is going to involve 3 goblins with pineapples. Don't ask. It's a weird thing. There's a bunch of pineapples. Nobody quite knows why. Attached to the goblins. Now, for the goblins, I chose Ignore the shelf of crap back there. I have the trolls from the castle lineup. Now, if you're wondering why I did these, there's going to be orcs much later in this series, and I have an idea of what I want to do for them, but these were a little bit easier for me to source than the goblins, so I'm just trying to play everything by ear. I can always swap some of these things as well, but there's a ton of minifigures available, obviously. Like, quite literally, my desk is full of probably 100 different minifigures. Later on in this first floor, there's going to be an entire retirement home I had to recreate, so I quite literally just did stuff like this. Just random minifigures. I need some old ones. I need some random dudes. First floor, you don't really have magical gear, so you're just kind of on your own. It's gonna be odd. It's gonna be a weird project, but I'm super excited. I'm going to eventually have to paint. I'm gonna hot glue some of this stuff down, but I am super excited to actually get it started. The book that I actually got for this is just like a Moleskine. I'm going to be stickering that up. Some of the stickers I have picked out for it, again, more of an innuendo than anything else, but again, we'll get to that point. So the first portion is going to be goblins, something known as a goblin bulldozer or murder dozer, and we're kind of going to go from there. I think I'm going to use from the dwarves mind defense. I have one that is just beat the living crap, so I'm going to use that, put some trolls / goblins on top of it, add some pineapples and a lot of like the smaller details. So I just kind of wanted to give the overview, and of course the content warning, like not every part of this Lego project is going to be friendly to every audience, so I just did want to put that out there. Again, this first portion is not going to be bad at all, but I kind of want to get the first hallway done and maybe like do the structure of the guild, but it's going to be a lot of, is this the right size? Is this the right size? I don't want to make it too big, but then I need it big enough that I can stretch it for 4 feet, and I don't want to run out. At any point, it's not going to be, I don't have enough ideas. This is the toughest and smallest floor in terms of that idea. It's going to be, do I have enough room? For something like the 7th book, that's almost impossible. So that's going to be an absolute challenge. I just finished the 7th book recently, and I'm looking at it like, well, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Thank you all so much for joining me on a custom project. I'm going to do my best. I did the very best I could with all like traditional Lego objects. My brother-in-law has a 3D printer, and he's the potential for Lego shotguns. There's a character that wields a shotgun, so I might do here and there like a couple 3D printed pieces just so it looks more authentic for me. But then there's pieces like, mild spoiler, this boss later in the show. This is a $150 to $175 minifigure. I bought a custom version for like 30 bucks. I just literally could not constitute another $200 into this project just yet. So maybe down the road I can swap him out, but you know, the juicer, ladies and gentlemen, spoiler alert for later. He's not going to be for a while. And there he goes. But thank you all so much for joining me for this build. It's going to take a long time to complete this project. In terms of book 1 through 7, book 8 is coming out here soon. But I'm super excited. I'm hopefully going to be meeting the author in a couple weeks, so that will be very exciting. I'm going to try and get this piece done as fast as I can in terms of like the actual build for like the outline and everything else, so I know what's going into it. But feel free to comments. Let me know. Hey, maybe this piece of the minifigure, maybe this minifigure for this character. Hey, I saw this a little bit differently. Some of it's tough. Obviously, it's a book. You know, I can see a character a little bit differently, and I'm doing the best I can with the pieces provided. So you know, we got to do what we got to do. One of the bigger portions, Carl wears only boxers with little red hearts on them. And yes, it's very important to the story. Trust me once I explain why that is eventually. But these were perfect. I ordered these, which are, come on camera, don't glare me, which are little boxers with paw prints on them. They're going to be pretty much perfect for Carl, but I'm going to have to paint them to match the skin tones. So we're gonna be painting, we're gonna be gluing, we're gonna be cutting. This is a big old project. This is the biggest one I've ever done, so thank you all so much. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share the video. You can follow me Instagram, Bricked, TikTok, the whole 9 yards. It's gonna be a while. I thank you all for the support. I know this has been a while. I've had a few people definitely asking me how long it was gonna be till I, you know, actually did part 1. I originally wanted to do the whole floor in one episode, but I kind of want to break it up so I at least have some content for it, and that way I can actually build a little bit of a series with it. But it's gonna be very exciting. Really quick before I get started, the walls, I bought a bunch of like the 1x1s with the little studs. It's viney. There's a lot of vines, a lot of growth of like plant life and stuff like that. I'm going to be attaching them to the wall with a little 1x1 claw 1Ls, I believe they're actually called, and go from there. I'm super excited. I can't wait to get started on this. This is the biggest passion project I've quite literally ever undertaken with Lego, but I'm super excited to bring it to you guys. If you're interested in reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, definitely do so. I'll try and have the books linked in the description below as well. It's amazing. It is super fun, and if you have kids, it is not for them. I just want to put that out there. So thank you all so much for joining me. Let's get out there. I should have the intro. So at the end of all of these announcements, Concordia announces, hello crawler, and goes through the entire AI system, and at the end she goes, kill, kill, kill. I don't know if that'll get me demonetized, but we're gonna find out together. Alright, this is my second time making this video. For some evident reason, the first video file was corrupted and failed, so I get to do this one more time. But here is part one of the Dungeon Crawler Carl project, so I'm really happy about it. I think it looks good. I like some of the details. It's not done yet. One of the biggest things I'm debating is the flooring here, like the actual ground surface. I was debating doing a cobblestone pattern. So doing a lot of the 1x1 in light gray and dark gray, and kind of doing like some sort of cobblestone rock pattern, but I don't want it to be too much light gray. So what I've debated is maybe mixing in brown with it, either on either side, or just doing like a brown and gray mixture throughout the entire thing. Maybe add some like rocks and stuff here and there, similar to how I did the forest floor for like my forest scene and the Harry Potter scene. So I'm honestly debating both of those, but for scene one, we are going to have Carl, Donut, 3 goblins, and the goblin murder dozer. If you're wondering what the little rats are, those are the cleanup crew. Every dungeon floor has a different cleanup crew. Some of them are much more dangerous and aggressive than others. The rats are, your basic ones for the most part. Like I said in the intro, we're going to have some pineapples just bouncing around as well. So, a lot of the goblins are pretty fun. They're pretty much the first little guys you're going to meet in this story that aren't just, the regular humans like Carl and the unfortunate ones that didn't make it into the dungeon. I've debated a couple different donut models for the cat. I like this one because it does in fact have a hole on top, so I can actually mount something to that later on, like a crown and a hat, which is going to be honestly, it's important to the story, just like the fact that he's in boxers. And yes, the legs don't match. I have to paint those. I want to see kind of like what I'm doing all overall first before I start painting everything. Same thing with gluing this stuff down to the board. I'm not doing that until later on in the actual series when the details are actually done, and I have a little bit more to put together than just this little bit here. I used the castle trolls for the goblins. I was originally going to do something different with that, but I decided to go with the castle trolls. Again, I can switch it later on if need be, but one of the guys had a stick or a staff with a pineapple on it, so guess what? I made a little stick with a pineapple on it for him. We have another goblin back here that's definitely not going to be taken out by this murder dozer. And in terms of the murder dozer itself, their goblins are a little bit unstable. This one's wearing a kitchen pot in its head. Don't ask anybody why. No idea. Why do you want pineapples everywhere? Because they can. I put some TNT next to the live flames in the back. Speaking of the backdrop, you're going to see a lot of vines. The first floor is a traditional kind of like Dungeons and Dragons field, so guild hall, and you're going to have like the castle walls in the background. So I did the 1x2 light bluish gray masonry bricks, and I put in some of the 1x1 studs as well, so you can actually hang them all on the wall. And I added some fire with some little 1x1 studs as well. So I do really like how the backdrop looked. I might add or subtract like a little bit of the plant life depending on how much I want to do and how deep in certain spots. But I am really happy with how that turned out. The reason I went with tan, I like that it brightens it up a little bit. The dark brown may have made it a little bit dark, especially when everything is enclosed. I don't want to kind of, shut down the color too much. So I wanted to add at least a little bit that wasn't the brown and the tan and the gray that you're going to be seeing a lot of in this first floor. But I really do like how it turned out. Now, in terms of moving forward, and of course for Carl, I am really happy with like the face that I chose. Same thing with the hairpiece, the leather jacket. We'll just have to paint the pants, or excuse me, the boxer. There's no heart-shaped boxer for Lego, so we do what we can. So now moving forward, I'm going to be doing this base plate by base plate, or I should say half base plate by base plate. I used this, which is the Scotch like deco arts and crafts knife to actually cut full base plates. They're a little bit easier than ordering the expensive 8x6 or 16x32s, or ordering them off Amazon if you want to, through like third-party sellers and stuff like that. The next one is going to be meeting Mordecai, which is very, very important to the story, but essentially Carl is trying to get away from those goblins to hide in the safe room here, which is the guild hall. He's doing his best to get through there. You know, obviously the story is about him, so he probably does, but you can see the continuation of the wall over here. And, you know, little 1x1 studs, of course, that are going to be for the plant life and the flames and stuff like that. We have a couple loot boxes that we're going to be opening in here. You know, I like it. This is supposed to be red bricked with a large brown door. Now, you know, the panel wise, they don't make a dark red version of one of these, I don't think, so that's going to be a little bit tough. Again, I could try and paint it, or I can just try and frame it maybe in a different color, but that's how this is going to essentially go. I don't want them connected because I want to be able to actually like rip apart some of the stuff if need be, and I'm going to be gluing them onto their actual base in the future anyways, so I like having a little bit of flexibility and stuff like that. But obviously I don't want to spoil too much for what's coming in the next part. If you've read it, you relatively know Mordecai's great. I have a perfect minifigure for him already picked out, so he's going to look great in here. You know, open from the outside, door here, scene here. We're going to eventually be adding, you know, different bosses, different stories and stuff like that. I'm going to try, excuse me, I currently have the flu, so I'm doing my best here. I'm going to be adding as much as I can in terms of like, here's how it went down in the book versus I only have so much room. I'm going to have to include some different enemies here that were mentioned. So like the flying stingrays, you know, the floating eyeballs, the first boss and stuff like that. So I'll have a little bit of everything. I'm not sure which scene I want to do right after this. I have a couple different options, but I have to fit a lot of story and a lot of spaces. Honestly, I think this is almost... if the Dozer didn't have to be this big, I probably could have lightened it up a little bit, but I'm going to try and do, you know, as best I can. What I've honestly debated is making everything just like one scene per half base plate and then making 2 floors per. But I don't know. We can cross that bridge again when we get to it. I won't know until we get to like the actual end here a little bit, and I can see how much I can actually fit in these limited amounts of spaces. But overall, I am really happy with how it turned out. Obviously, you know, again, there's going to be details missing. There's going to be story material that just isn't there yet. I might be working on it in the background. I might be waiting on it. Maybe I ordered something and it just didn't work out. So this is not a finished product by any means, but I am super excited, and it gives you a lot of motivation to say, all right, you know, this daunting, massive, time-consuming and expensive project, here's part 1, here's a little bit done, and I can actually see and go from there. But that's going to do it for part 1, guys. Thank you all so much. Remember, you can check out the rest of my Lego builds and stuff like that in the channel, in the description below. Same thing with video games, and, you know, if you want to purchase any sets or any lighting kits, I'll have links to all that in the description below as well. I'm super excited. Make sure you read Dungeon Crawler Carl. Again, it is not kid-friendly. I will put that out there, but it's going to be a very fun project. And again, I will try and give any warnings that I can for the content coming ahead. Again, it won't be anything too awful, but, you know, I still want to give that warning out there. But yeah, this is pretty PG. I might be adding some red tiles around some characters eventually, but for now, I'm okay doing this, just like I did with the Hagrid's hut and the Forbidden Forest. I like getting the baseline set, like adding the minifigures, toying around and, you know, like finalizing some of the details, and then adding the hard details to like the flooring and stuff like that. So thank you all so much. Remember, stay safe out there. Have a great time. I hope you're having a wonderful winter. God forbid it stops snowing and being just ungodly windy here, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy building, everybody.